This was the most amazing, uplifting, wonderful thing that happened. Attorney General Barr. Attorney General Barr, who was, as you know, appointed by President Trump, he is now on a mission to get to the bottom of what happened inside the FBI Department of Justice when they cooked up the Russia collusion hoax in an effort to carry out a coup against President Trump. Attorney General Barr spoke at Notre Dame's law school this past weekend. So he's at Notre Dame, which is a Catholic school, as you know. He is speaking to the law students, and he said some of the most profound things that really tie into the idea of law in our country. We say we have a Constitution, and we have the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We have federal laws and state laws. He got at the ideas. So that's his job as the Attorney General, is to understand the laws, to apply the laws. It matters a lot what a person thinks about the nature of truth, how discerning they are, in order for them to carry out that job, such as Attorney General. I'm going to read you a couple of things Attorney General Barr said at the Notre Dame Law School. He said, one of the ironies, as some have observed, he talked about he talked about the creation of a new secular religion. And so he said, one of the ironies, as some have observed, is that the secular project has itself become a religion, pursued with religious fervor, is taken on all the trappings of religion, including inquisitions and excommunication. Those who defy the creed risk a figurative burning at the stake, social, educational, and professional ostracism and exclusion waged through lawsuits and savage social media campaigns. He's talking about the rise of the secular left driving truth out of our society. He goes on, today, in the face of all these increasing pathologies, instead of addressing the underlying cause, we have cast the state, and he puts it in all caps, the state, in the role of alleviator of bad consequences. We call on the state to mitigate the social costs of personal misconduct and irresponsibility. The secularist government attempts to alleviate bad consequences by advancing abortion, enabling drug use, and assuming the role of parent and spouse, Barr said, and while promising unlimited freedom, the end result of the secularist religion is one of servitude. One more quote. So the reaction to growing illegitimacy in our country is not sexual responsibility, but abortion. The reaction to drug addiction is safe injection sites. And he said the solution to the breakdown of the family is for the state to set itself up as an ersatz husband for the single mother and an ersatz father for the children. The call comes from more and more social programs to deal with the wreckage. He says, and while we think we're solving problems, we are underwriting them. We start with the untrammeled freedom, and we end up as dependents of a coercive state on whom we depend. It was an astonishingly profound speech he gave at Notre Dame. Astonishingly profound. I can't read the whole thing to you, but it was really very moving, very insightful, and it made me feel so grateful that this guy is our Attorney General, because he's getting beyond just follow the laws. What does the federal law say? What does the federal law mean? How do I apply it in this case? He is acutely aware of the breakdown of American society, largely due to the rise of secularism, largely due to the power the American left has amassed by driving God out of public school, God out of public life, religious thought out of American culture, the mockery of Christianity, the mockery of serious faith, the rise of secularism as the secular government as the omnipotent power in this country. And he's talking about the ways in which that mindset, that secular mindset that now rules America, rules the American left, has truly destroyed families, communities, individuals' lives. We don't take responsibility for our morals. We turn to the government to solve the problems that are the outcome of the breakdown of morals. So you might imagine many conservatives were jumping up and down and clapping. Other people had different reactions and want to quickly share them with you. Again, there's one quote I really liked. The secular project has itself become a religion, pursued with religious fervor. Those who defy the creed of secularism risk a figurative burning at the stake, social, educational, and professional ostracism, and exclusion waged through lawsuits and savage social media campaigns. So, naturally, leftists, let me just tell a few of them, New York Times columnist, the intolerable New York Times columnist Paul Krugman accused Attorney General Barr of religious bigotry for saying those things. Political ethicist, and this funny column from Wall Street Journal calls him, and also a professional attention seeker, Richard Painter, tapped out a series of furious tweets calling the speech the latest episode of The Handmaid's Tale, and mocking him. In fact, he says, suggesting Mr. Barr isn't much of a Christian. Instead, he's more like a vintage Goebbels, the Hitler guy. He's analogizing Barr inviting America to recognize the destruction caused to our society by secularism. And this guy's reaction is to compare Barr's speech on that point to Hitler's team. And they also had MSNBC, retired Army Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, once chief of staff to Colin Powell. He says he called the Attorney General, Barr, called him a torquemada in a business suit, a reference to the Spanish Inquisition's Grand Inquisitor. These people cannot stand when the truth is laid out before them in a magnificent public speech by the Attorney General at Notre Dame Law School. It's just a breath of fresh air. And I'm going to go back to something before we're going to turn to our why it matters to you in just a second here. But the idea that American voters care about the politicians they elect, about their mindset, how do they think, how do they reason, does faith play into their view of the world, do they view the U.S. government as Almighty God, the giver and taker of wealth, the decider of who gets to keep their wealth, the governor and controller of the healthcare system. Do they see government as God, or are they people more aligned with the idea, the traditional American idea, the importance of Christian faith, and of course, the importance of Judaism and the Jewish faith, the Judeo-Christian ideas that founded this country? This still matters to many Americans. This speech is very, not just gratifying and kind of happifying, but it really is affirming of the idea that the values you bring, the recognition, your ability to see the evils, the power, the rise of secularism, the evils it entails, and the outcomes of secularism. This is a great thing to know that a man who could give that speech is our Attorney General. I urge you to read the speech. Go to our website again, americacanwetalk.org, and under the homepage under shows, drop down list of links. You can read his speech there, read articles about his speech. Just a tremendous recognition of what a deep thinker Attorney General Barr really is.